Mike, turn your games down.
Reboot episode 283 of Games My Mom Found. I am Mike Albertin, who's standing alone with me tonight.
This is Blair Farrell from comicbookvideogames.com and at Blaircade on Twitch. And if I kill another Gimp or Dominatrix again, it won't be too soon.
I'm Zach from Absolutely the Best Podcast, A Work in Progress. And this ain't your grandma's Prince of Persia.
That is very true. This is my Prince of Persia either, apparently. So we are here to talk about Prince of Persia, Warrior Within, developed by Ubisoft Montreal, published from Ubisoft, and came out originally in 2004, and there's a PSP port in 2005, which is the same game. Why you'd want two games of this, I don't know, but So it's always like to start these off with kind of like what your memories of. I remember this game coming out. I remember being interested in it. I never played it. I own a copy of GameCube, I realized, when I was looking at my collection. And I just happened to have it. I'm like, never did play this. I did play Sands of Time as a kid, beat it twice, once for this podcast. And I just never got around to this game. I was like, never did. And yeah, I could have lived with that. So, and Blair, what about you? What's your history with this game?
Well, I guess for the Prince of Persia franchise, I knew it existed, but I wasn't really into it. I think when I was growing up, I remember seeing the Super Nintendo game, and I didn't even know how to pronounce Persia. I probably call it like Prince of Persia or something. And I remember when Sands of Time was coming out, I was reading Electronic Gaming Monthly, and there was a bunch of hype about how good it was, and I was kind of skeptical because I was reading a few years ago about how like Prince of Persia 3D came out on the Sega Dreamcast. I believe it was redubbed Arabian Nights, and it was hot garbage. And then the reviews started coming out, and then it was 9 out of 10s, 10 out of 10s game of the year. So, but it didn't sell very well, and that's the thing that's is shocking about Sands of Time. Is that all this reviews and hype, and it sold like crap. So I got it for like $29 with a copy of Splinter Cell sealed. And when this came out, we had a store open in my hometown called the Movie Gallery, and it's the closest thing we had to a Blockbuster. So it was during finals for university, and I would go and rent out a game there for like $10 to have it for a week. So I'd study in the day and then play a game in the evening. And this was one I rented out. And I finished it, and I liked it-ish at the time. I eventually bought it because I think it dropped price pretty fast.
Ubisoft.
And I've revisited it over the, I guess, decades now. And my opinions have gone up and down. And I think after this most recent playthrough, it's on the down. And we'll get into that over the next hour or two or so.
And Zach, what is your history with this game?
So I was fortunate enough as a kid to have an Apple II computer. And one of the first games I ever beat was a game called Karateka or Karateka. There's a bunch of different ways to pronounce it. I don't know what's correct. But that was Jordan Mechner's first game. And then his second one, of course, was Prince of Persia, the original one, which I played at the time. And while I thought it was a very impressive game, I thought it was a little too hard, not fun. I never made it very far. And then I basically forgot about Prince of Persia entirely until the Sands of Time came out on the GameCube, which was about 2003, I think. And I really liked that one a lot. That was a great game. It was great platforming, a lot of fun. The fighting mechanic was good in that, or fighting mechanics were good in that. And I generally don't like it when it's only melee combat. You know, it's kind of a detractor for me, but it was a lot of fun. So when Warrior Within came out, I also really loved the rewind mechanic that they had introduced in Sands of Time. I had not seen something like that before. Is that the first rewind mechanic in a game? Do either of you know? Because I tried to look into that. It's not something easy to research.
No,
I think so. I know it was like the big selling point because I remember the commercials for Sands of Time, and I believe it was like a DJ playing a song, and he would kind of like spin the record back, and everything would rewind.
I remember that.
Because, I mean, this was in the early, well, not early 3D, but we're into, like, what, Generation 2 of 3D,
right,
where games were meant to be punishing and hate you, so you didn't rent them and you bought them.
Yes. But yeah, I thought the rewind mechanic was really cool, and so when Warrior Within came out, I was pretty psyched for that one. And if I recall correctly, I was a little bit let down by it, and maybe even more than a little bit. And I never finished it. I think I just got frustrated with it, and other games had come out, and I started playing something else. I totally forgot about the series again until recently when the Two Crowns came out, and everybody says it's an awesome game. So I picked that up, and I've been playing that.
All right. I don't know why it took me so long to get to this game. I mean, I think it was just like the previews of it made it sound so hard because the Dahaka chasing you, and I couldn't finish Sands of Time when I was a kid, even with the rewind feature. That always put me off.
The Dahaka was definitely kind of scary.
It wasn't bad though. Like, I mean, I played this game with save states. Mm-hmm. So I also should, and before I go into everything else I'm going to say, emphasis out, when I did play this game, I played on the PS2 emulator, and it had a lot of issues for me. It was really, really dark, which I fixed at the end of the game when I realized to turn my brightness up on my PC because there is no brightness setting in the game. I also had a lot of lag, which I don't mind lag so much in games because I'm like, yeah, whatever. It's my choice to play it the way I am. I'll deal with it. That didn't really, I mean, I had that, so I think that played a part in it, but really this game is just really ugly.
Yes.
Yeah, the art direction, I think, and it's interesting to look back on, I guess, this era of game development where the Sands of Time came out in the fall of 2003. And this came out in fall 2004. Yeah. And how much did they really take feedback from the Sands of Time, or were they taking feedback from maybe like focus groups for the Sands of Time? Because it seems like a huge overcorrection.
Yeah.
Because I think about, like, I guess the games of the era where you have like your Grand Theft Autos and everything was getting like dark and mature, and Sands of Time has this very almost like storybook look and exaggerated art direction, and then it's like, we have to go dark and make every character look like a C-tier Mortal Kombat deception fighter.
I thought that in general the graphics looked just kind of muddled with all the... I feel like they were going for dark and ended up with kind of just brown.
I mean, that's completely fair. This is a game that's very, very early 2000s, and I hate that.
Yeah, it's the most aggressively 2004 game that I've played.
Same. It's too much for me. Like, that's one of my issues with this game is that, like, so I haven't played Sands of Time in 3 years for this podcast, and I remember enjoying it, but, like, one thing I like about because I love Prince of Persia. I played everything but this and Two Thrones when it comes to, like, I played everything. I thought I didn't play the Wii version of, but I'd played a lot of them. I played 08. I played Forgotten Sands. I like this. I like parkour games a lot. I played other games that are parkour, and I just like it. But one of my big issues in this game is that everything is so dark and ugly. Everything looks the same, and I can't really tell what's supposed to climb on and what I can't climb on sometimes.
Yeah.
A lot of trial and error with save states, seeing what works and what doesn't.
I did find the platforming to be less fun in this one than in Sands of Time. And the platforming is kind of why I like the Prince of Persia series.
Same. That's what made Sands of Time so special. I mean, yes, the rewind feature is great. I mean, in this game, it felt not as good, but my issue with this game is I couldn't see shit. Even when I turned the brightness up, I still couldn't really tell where I'm supposed to go because things are just so dark and ugly, and it really, really upset me.
Yeah, and especially when you're being chased by the Dahaka and you got to figure things out really fast.
Save states are wonderful. Yes. I would not have gotten through this game without save states. That's why I played emulation with just for save states. I own this on PC. I own it on GameCube. I bought it for $2 on Steam just to say, okay, I own it, but I'm never going to play that version. But I own it now.
I should say that I tried to emulate it, but I was having trouble getting the Dolphin Core to not crash. So I just had to watch a long play and kind of remember how things went.
I think you had a better experience than I did.
It was a shorter experience for sure.
So, Mike, you're the pro yellow paints camp?
Yes, I am. It took a second to register what you were meaning, but yes. Oh, I am. I wish this game had something that would glow to let me know, hey, that's climbable, or just something. I mean, Sands of Time, I think, did it in a way where, well, one, the art style, everything was kind of lit up that I could just see and pick it up on it. But with this game, it was, one was the fact that my computer was so dark. But even when I turned the brightness all the way up on my PC, that was 17%, I realized at first. It was still hard to see things. But yes, I want you to tell me, you can go here.
I played the PlayStation 3 HD version, And I don't think I had that much problem. I think my issue with this, and it's an issue with, and this is, to quote Mike Albertin, a me thing. I hate fighting in games. I'm sick of combats. And this game, there's too much of it. I like, for a game like this, and it was my problem with the most recent one that came out this year, where the moving around is the action. I don't need to be constantly fighting things and blocking and parrying. There was so many instances in this where I would get my health back, and then I would go through this big, long section, and then a dominatrix or a gimp would jump down, and I would have to fight them, and you would go to fight the dominatrix, and you hit them, and they jump over you, and they push you down, and take out huge chunks of your health, and then you get past those gimps and dominatrixes, and then you do this big, long thing, and then you fight the giants, which is fun the first time you do it, where you have to, scratch at their legs and get on their back. But even the feedback and that feels soft. And it feels like such an overcorrection again from the art direction to Sands of Time. I'm going to operate under the assumption that they read reviews and said, there's not enough fighting or the fighting is boring. So now there's 50 million combos and two-handed weapons and all this stuff, but it doesn't add up to anything. And even the few bosses that show up are just not fun.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% there. I feel like they really sacrificed the fun aspects of Sands of Time, such as the platforming, for more complicated or more complex combat in this one. And, that's not what I wanted personally.
I don't think that's what I think people complained about Sands of Time. The combat was basic, but you shouldn't complain. That's not what this game is special for. The series issues are not this game in particular.
I agree.
I compare it to the Arkham series in that fighting is something you do to break up the rest of what you're doing. Mm-hmm. It's not the main thing that you do. And for this, it's I want these big, long, elaborate. So I guess towards the end where you get the mask and you become the Wraith, and you're outside jumping on the masts of the ships, and you're going through this big, long thing, and stuff is falling. That's what I like this for.
Yes.
Not just, oh yeah, here's another guy, and I have to kill this guy, and it's another fight. And God, I remember there was one point in one of the towers where I fought one of those giant things.
Yeah.
And then I saved it and got my health back, and I was okay, I won't have to fight that giant thing again. And then I died and reloaded, and then I had to fight the giant thing again, and I was getting so angry.
That's stupid. See, I'm really glad I played this game emulation. Even more so, because that would have pissed me off, because combat just wasn't really fun for me. I didn't mind it at first, but later on, when the enemies they do not die easily, then it annoyed me a lot.
It's very repetitive too.
Yes.
And I think what Blair was saying, with the combat should be breaking up the platforming, I guess. That's how Sands of Time was. You had a long platforming section, and then you fought for a little bit, and then you had a long platforming section, fought for a little bit, and that was fun.
Yeah, I mean, this game tries for a lot of combat. Because I really do believe, if I remember correctly, that was a complaint when Sands of Time came out, that Sands of Time didn't have the combat that people wanted, and that it was 2004, so we're all angsty and angry kids. Apparently,
well, there's no bosses in that game, really. I think you fight, your dad turns into a sand zombie towards the beginning, and then you fight the Vizier at the end, but that's really it.
That's it.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
They have bosses in this, and it's basically Bird Thing, and you have to wait for it to fall, and then it hits, and this game desperately needed some type of ranged weapon. And I don't think the engine was designed for it, and that's why. Because even there's birds that come in, and you feel like there should be something you can do other than just throw your spare melee weapon at them.
It's useless, but yes. That. Yeah, I agree with you. Maybe there was an talk of it, but they ran. I mean, plus this game was fucking rushed, so there's that too.
Well, that was the era, right? You had this trilogy in 3 years. You had the Jack trilogy in 4 years, and Sly in the same amount of time almost.
I did not realize this was 3 years back until very recently. You said that. It did not click on me how fast these were produced, because I did not it would have been 2005. I mean, I was around. I was buying games, playing games. I was in that atmosphere. I don't know. I just didn't realize it was that close together because I was in high school and all those years feel like longer than they really were.
Well, you think of 2004 as well. So this year was Snake Eater, this, Metroid Prime 2, I think Halo 2, San Andreas, Half-Life 2, possibly on Xbox, or possibly just PC. I don't know when the Xbox original port came out. There was a lot of games fighting for your attention. And the DS came out.
Yeah, that's just bad timing then, too. I think they should let this game sit for another year and make it pop more, and then they did, but that's not Ubisoft, and that wasn't the era. And with the PS2, running a cycle, you got to get shit out where you can.
Yeah.
I get it.
I think right before this came out, Metroid Prime 2 came out, and Metroid is my series. And I think I just went back and played more Metroid Prime 2 after playing this for a bit.
I have still never played Metroid Prime 2.
It's hard.
Did you one?
That's why.
Did you play the first one?
Oh, yeah. I played the first one, beat it. I played it as a kid, never finished it. I beat it for this podcast, but I emulated it.
Yeah, so the first one's the best one of the three.
Okay, that's what I've heard, too.
So, and I thought maybe the third was better than the second, but I replayed them recently, and I think in hindsight, I like 2 better. My only problem with 2 is that you had to use ammo for your beam weapons. There's never before or since then had that mechanic in a Metroid game. And I don't know, I think I was judging it a little too harshly based on one thing I didn't like.
No, I always meant to play it, but I've heard it's hard too, and that will put me off on games for apparently 20 years, as the case of this game.
I mean, I'm not a great gamer, and
I'm not either.
I've 100%ed it, multiple times.
Oh, okay.
If you do play it, sorry, we're getting way off track. But
that's fine.
If you do play it, try to play. That's motion control. So I'm
going to play an emulation on GameCube emulation on my PC.
Yeah. So there's one boss. There's one boss in the GameCube version that is so unfair and so frustrating. And I've never thrown a controller more in my life. And that was fixed in the. It's not really
Metroid Prime trilogy.
Trilogy, yeah. Thank you.
For Wii.
But then you have to use motion controls, and
I'm waiting for that Switch port.
Yes, I know. I
actually just bought Metroid Prime Remastered for my son because I'm like, here, you need some different games to play. Here,
yeah, that was a great remaster. I was happy with that one.
And speaking of ports, this game isn't easy to play now either.
No,
because I think Sands of Time is backwards compatible on the Xbox Series X, but I believe it's disc only. So you have to have a physical copy to put in the system. And this, I don't know if they re-released these on 360 or if it was just PlayStation 3.
It's just PS3. What you're talking about?
Before they were only put out digitally in North America, and then afterwards they put out a disc copy, which is what I bought them all digitally, and then I bought the trilogy on physical after. So they haven't exactly made it easy to go back to this, and I can partially see why. And I guess my brother had the PSP version, and I mean it's impressive for what it is, but it just suffered from a lot of what PSP games did, where this is a game that needs 2 analog sticks. And how do you navigate this world having to stand still to adjust the camera when the game is about being in constant motion?
Yeah,
I can see that being rough.
Hey, at least they named it differently. So, but yeah. No, the PSP version, I watched about it because I heard the loading times are bad too. But I mean, it's cool it exists, but yeah. No, it's just, they were just trying to put whatever on there. And there's some great games on PSP, but this is probably not one of them from what I've heard.
Oh yeah, because it wasn't designed for that system. It was just kind of backwards, retrofitted to it.
I mean, I just had a lot of problems with this game. I had a problem with the combat, as we kind of talked about. I mean, the combat does get better, or you get more options as the game progresses because you get better weapons and you do get some cool combos and stuff. But I just never found them working great for me, and I never really had a lot of fun with it. I would just do a lot of the jumping over people and just eventually try to kill them, or later on I just ran from them because I was sick and tired of fighting. So
yeah, I tried to do that too, and I think in the Sands of Time, there's a sheath your weapon button so you can run away from enemies, or that could be one of the other ones.
I
And
think
in
it
this,
sense.
yeah, I would try to just roll away from things. I'm like, I don't want to fight this giant monster again. I'm sick of, like, it's cool the first time you do it because you have this giant colossus thing, I guess, and you kind of have to slash at its ankles to get it to fall down. Then you would jump on his back and stab it, and it takes way too long. And it's interesting to do it once, but then they just keep coming, and it's just so tedious.
Yeah, they do a lot of combat. It becomes too much in this game, and that makes sense. Like, that was one of my problems too. And my biggest issue is still just the fact that the platforming wasn't as fun because I couldn't see what I was doing, and that was a combination of just things aren't. I mean, I don't need yellow paint. I do like yellow paint. I'm not gonna lie. When it comes to that, I will gladly have a game so like, hey, this is where you're doing. But like, I just wanted it to be a little bit more clear for me to see ledges and see things. I mean, part of that was the way I was playing. I have to take that into account. But as I watched speedruns of this game, and I'm watching a Let's Play as we talk, this game is just dark as hell to begin with. Like, yeah, it wasn't just me.
It's the art direction too, where it's a lot of grays and a lot of browns, and the story kind of has the prince going back and forth between two eras. So like this island in the present and the past. In the past, everything is more lush and green and vibrant, especially in some of the outdoor sections. But most of the time it's, a gray, brown, dilapidated, and then you get like thrown into like a prison and like a catacombs, and it's just rocks. And they try to do some of the striations so you kind of know where to run. So I don't think... I know there was in one puzzle where I didn't realize I had to like flip backwards. One of the mask things, and I had to run over like a buzzsaw, and I was getting so mad because your health is depleting when you become a sand wraith.
Yeah.
But other than that, like, I think that's because I played the HD version on PlayStation 3, where the contrast is bumped way up.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. But okay. I mean, like, the other thing for me that I kind of... we should mention what the story of this game is. So this game takes place after Sands of Time, where he reset everything that happens. Spoilers for a 21-year-old game. And then what he found out is that he's now being hunted by this creature called the Dahaka because he played with time, so he's supposed to die. And this game takes place... They never really say how many years later, but he's changed a whole lot, and he's on the run from this creature, and he goes to the island of time, where the Sands of Time were created all these years ago.
And he's trying to stop the creation of the Sands of Time, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I actually like the story of this. I mean, we can go ahead and spoil it, right?
Oh, yeah, of course.
It's a cool setup. I like it, too.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for any kind of like time loop irony, and so in the end, and he's trying to destroy or prevent the creation of the Sands of Time, and inadvertently causes them to be created. I like that. That works for me.
I mean, it would. I guess I don't really mind the story. Like, I don't mind the whole, like, his whole goal, and that's why he's here. And the past and present thing that Blair had mentioned is a cool concept, but one of my issues with any game that does past and present where I'm able to jump back and forth is that I'm always scared that that there's going to be puzzles or something where I have to switch from time to time in order to do things, and I'm not going to realize what to do. I mean, this game doesn't really do that. It's pretty straightforward of what to do and where to go when you're going through time.
I feel like that was a missed opportunity for them, though. Like, if you could have changed something in the past to solve a puzzle in the future, and if I recall correctly, you just basically go through a different part of the area at the
yeah. The biggest issue with that concept, though, with this game is that this is my biggest complaint, and I don't know if this is a me complaint, but it might be a me complaint. The map is fucking awful in this game. Yeah. I need a map, like a Metroidvania map, that's just something like to tell me, like a Metroid Prime, map.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
Already out of this time. Like, I need to see a model to see, okay, this area will get me here. Because when the game's like, oh, go here. And I'm like, you give me a map that looks like someone just drew a picture of the city and then you put an X on it. Like, this isn't that simple of a game to traverse, guys. Like, come on, developers.
I went back and read the EGM review, and they were talking about the terrible map and how it's essentially like someone put an X on an oil painting and said, go here, or like something like that. Like, I'm kind of butchering it, but yeah, it's so... And I like the story too, but what kind of deflates it is if you're playing it again and you kind of know the twist, it's the mystery and everything is gone. Like it's,
Yeah.
I mean, they also described it as like a Back to the Future 2 scenario where you are effectively trying to stop yourself from doing something.
Yeah.
I like that as well. But no, I agree. I don't think it would hold up to multiple. The story wouldn't hold up to multiple playthroughs. So, one more reason not to keep playing this game because it's not very good.
And I guess the only thing that does have, because I believe, Mike, you didn't get all the life upgrades.
I didn't get any. I got like 2. I got 2 life upgrades. No, I didn't even know that this game had 8 of them until after I finished this game and I was watching stuff and reading stuff about it.
Because something that does make it a little bit easier, so this game has multiple endings, and if you get... I pulled up a guide to kind of tell me where there are 2. I kind of remember where some of them too. Because there's optional kind of parkour challenges, and at the end you get more health, and then when you get all of them, you get a weapon called the water sword, and it kind of makes fighting super easy. You get it not long after, I guess, the halfway point where you, spoilers, kill Monica Bellucci, and you basically hit enemies once and they die. So that's pretty great. But if you don't have it, it's frustrating.
The whole idea is that you're coming here to kill the Empress of Time, to stop the Sands of Time, and you find out that this woman that lied to you is the Empress of Time, and then you kill her, but then you're like, okay, I'm going to go back. Then you find out, no, nothing changed. I'm still being hunted. And then you're like, oh, I'll bring her in the present and kill her, which doesn't make any damn sense from a time-wimey perspective, and I'm a guy who likes timey-wimey. Like, that makes no sense.
Well, I get it, because, like, she died in the past, and then that created the Sands of Time, and then it's where it would be at the time when he found it in the Sands of Time. So I guess the logic is that if it's made in the present, then when they found it in the first game, it wouldn't be there.
Yeah, but it doesn't work that way. Because even when he kills you in the present, that doesn't change anything. Because there's 2 endings to this game. I mean, I'll hold off on that, but there are 2 endings to the game. We'll get in that. And I do a couple more things I want to say, I think. One, like, to go with Blair's joke that he's been making multiple times in this, like, when the game starts off, the opening cutscene is you're on a boat because you have a fleet and they all get murdered. And the woman, for some reason, because this is 2004, they dress the villain in like a whole dominatrix outfit, which I appreciated, especially would appreciate in 2004, but I'm just like, it just doesn't fit.
The camera is right about those cheeks.
I felt like this is where Zack Snyder got the idea for 300 Rise of an Empire. Opening scene there.
Yeah, it felt really uncomfortable. And I can see, like, because this is rated M, I believe. So it's like, oh yeah, like, it's so impractical. It's basically like wearing nothing over, like, the chest area, and then it's just, like, thongs, and all the enemies just look like, they're gimps. And I keep saying that over and over again, but there's no better way to describe them. Like, they're all wearing, like, black leather and, like masks and things like that. They look like a character that would have been thrown out of a 3D Mortal Kombat. I'll kind of correct that.
Yeah, no, they do. They really do. I mean, and I don't mind that aspect in some things, but it's such a contrast to what Sands of Time is.
Yeah.
And I think that's an issue, is that this feels like something different. And I know the idea is, the prince has been through a lot of shit, and look how he looks now. It's like,
yeah, there's better ways to do that. Like, I'd almost want to see a remake of this more than the Sands of Time, to kind of slowly put him into that state. Because at the end of Sands of Time, it's kind of this, he learns to grow up effectively, going through that adventure. And by this, he is edgelord, and I think one of the very first words out of his mouth is like, "You bitch," or something.
It is.
Okay,
yes.
We're already here.
Because
like,
this is
just such a whiplash.
It's 2004. I mean, that's the whole thing, is that, and it's something that I don't really think about anymore because I'm so far removed from that time, because, it's 20 years later. Like, that just was, I guess, the theme. Like, that's what was cool in 2004. I mean,
well,
it's never a more try-hard edgelord time than 2004.
That's the post 9/11 world where we can't do cutesy and whimsical anymore. Like, think of, Jak 2 came out in 2003, and Jak 1 in 2001 was this bright, cartoony platformer, and then in the second one, he has a goatee and a gun, and he can talk now, and he's like, I know, kill Baron Braxis, and, you know, you can't do that anymore. But then you have Sly Cooper 2, and that's a delightful heist game, so
That's a
what do I know?
Amazing fucking game, by the way. Also on this podcast. Go check it out. Fly 1 and 2 are. I'm just going to say, like, also one of my other biggest issues with this game is that this game does backtracking, which I don't mind backtracking. Usually my issue with backtracking is I don't know where the fuck I'm going because I don't. They're like, oh, go to the garden. I'm like, I sort of know where the garden is and I sort of know where the throne room is, but anytime it's like, go through here, and I'm just like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Yeah, if the map had been better, that would have worked better.
Yeah, because I was always worried I was going the wrong direction or that I was doing something I shouldn't have been, and then that bothered me a lot.
You can kind of do things out of order because the map is really dumb. But once you, I guess there's plot things where you kind of get weapons. And I guess they try to do like a Metroid game where it's, okay, I have this sword now, and this sword can stab into this thing, and I can turn this crank in the, I guess, main hall, and it kind of raises and lowers the floor. Because you can do things out of order, because you have to open this gate, but in order to open this gate, you have to activate these two towers. Because there's like the mechanical tower, which is the one I hated the most.
Same.
And then the garden, which I liked a lot more, because it's, you know, the big puzzle. But it kind of, everything just happens in that one room. And then once that's done, you just kind of go back to the throne room. The back half is where it feels like padding, because this isn't a very long game. Like, I think I finished it in, you know, a couple of sittings over 2 or 3 days. As once the kind of middle half happens, you go through the entire game backwards.
Right. Then the long play I watched, I think, was only about 3 hours. So it's not...
that's shorter than what the game. Okay, I think that's someone knows what they're doing.
It took a little bit longer than that. I had a lot of frustrating moments.
Same. I mean, it took me longer than that easily. I mean, I had to do something that I hate doing in games like this, where I had to watch a YouTube video and copy what they did because I was terrified of getting lost near the end. Because I would remember stuff like, okay, I've been through the mechanical tower again. Like, so I don't want to get lost and go the wrong way, because I feel like you could just miss the exit you were going for. So I came damn close. So that bothered me a lot.
Yeah, and in Sands of Time, they would kind of give you the vision of what you were going to do when you got to like the checkpoints, and then when you got into a room. And they kind of do that here as well, where it kind of, the camera will move around and show you the path you have to take. But it's easy to sometimes even, you think you're going the right way, and then you like slide down a curtain and then start back to where you were. Like, you go around, I went around a lot of circles at times.
Yeah.
Thinking I was going the right way.
I did that too multiple times, and that would annoy me, because I would just realize, like, oh, I didn't need to do that. Like, that was like a kind of red herring almost, and I went the wrong way, and I'm just like, and that would just piss me off. I mean, I guess the one thing I should mention is that the curtains are a new thing that weren't in Sands of Time, where you can slide down curtains now. Woohoo! I mean, they're not that special. I mean, this game added a few things. It added that you can now slow down time for combat and puzzles, which I don't think you could do in Sands of Time, correct?
You can in combat, I think. Yeah. Sure. And I'm pretty sure you can do it at any time.
Oh, you see, that's what happens when you wait 3 years to play the sequel. You don't remember anything.
I haven't played Prince of Persia Sands of Time in many years, so don't feel bad.
Oh, and to go back to your earlier comment, Blair, when you talked about how this should be remade, don't worry, Sands of Time's not getting remade either. So... But yes, this should have been. I mean, maybe if Sands of Time remake happened and did good, then they would have did the whole trilogy. But yeah, that's not. It's
well, they say it's happening, and who knows? Because I know it's terrible. I bought the new one. Is it the Forgotten Crown? Is that what it's called? I'm blanking on the title.
The newest one?
Yeah.
I think it's the Two Crowns.
No, it's something crown, but it's not.
Yeah.
There is one more. You're right.
Yeah, the Two Thrones is the next one in the trilogy.
Yes.
Because the Forgotten, I haven't. I have a thing with Ubisoft. I haven't. Oh, the Lost Crown. Jeez, this is terrible.
I knew it was something crown. I knew it. Yeah, so I was like, I know you're close.
I know. I have a thing with Ubisoft. It's funny, around this era, I used to consider them one of my favorite publishers.
Yeah.
Like, I love Prince of Persia. I love some of the Rayman games, and then I love the first few Assassin's Creed. They did a lot of fun DS games. But then, the past decade, their output has been, we have multiple franchises that are effectively the same flavor of this different flavors of the same thing. And then also Ubisoft has been the allegations of rampant harassment in their company has made me really not want to buy anything that they put out. Like, I watch their Ubisoft forwards, and it's just, here's another Assassin's Creed, here's another Assassin's Creed, here's another Far Cry, which is like Assassin's Creed with guns. So when The Lost Crown came out, I actually bought that day one, and I really liked it. I thought it was a bit too long, and I just didn't gel with the combat because I'm so sick of saving at a campfire and enemies coming back and having a perfect parry, and like you get hit in that game, and it's like the game is like a Dragon Ball fight where you miss a parry and then you have to watch 2 minutes of getting killed, but that's getting off track. But this era, like, I love their stuff. And
Hey, did you play Beyond Good and Evil?
I did.
Yeah, that was a good one.
This fall, it's so funny to think about because you had Ubisoft games that's reviewed or previewed really well that sold like garbage. Because I guess 2003 was the year of 13, which, a lot of style, not a lot of substance, not that great. It was okay. Beyond Good and Evil, which was great, sold like garbage. Sands of Time, reviewed well, sold like garbage. And of course, my favorite game, Batman Rise of Sin Tzu, which is, this big Batman beat 'em up that also didn't sell very well. And then this was the overcorrection, I guess.
I feel like going back to Beyond Good and Evil, there was at one point they had announced that sequel for it, right? I don't remember how many years after the original, but that was another one where they looked like they're like really doing the edgelord thing, trying to make it. I don't even know how to describe it. It looked bad. I remember the
it depends what time you're thinking about they announced a sequel, because I remember like in 2007 they had like a video of like Paige and Jade being broken down in a highway, but then
yes, that is the one.
And then there was like another one where it was, here's this giant world, and there was a character, and I believe they're like a monkey human hybrid, and everyone just kept saying the F word over and over again. And I was like, this is not what I wanted.
Right? And like, if it doesn't, like the F word, I don't care. You use it as much as you want or need to, but don't try to work it into the sequel to what was a really good game just because you think that's what people want to hear. I don't understand.
Yeah. I know. I'm not a prude by any stretch of the imagination, but I find when like I watch some things and the joke is that they're swearing a bunch and constantly using the F word. Like when you use sparingly, it's okay.
Yep.
Depends. But I think the problem with like Beyond Good and Evil, and that's getting off track, is that what the sequel could be, it's never coming out, is what they wanted the original to be, and they had to keep paring it down until it was the, Zelda, Diddy Kong Racing, Pokemon Snap hybrid that it was. But, like, I want a sequel. I want to know what happens to Jade. I don't want to go on this stupid giant adventure. Like, what happened to Small?
No, I'm with you. Like, I'm one of the, when I played Beyond Good and Evil last time, which was before this podcast, I did not like that game. But that I haven't replayed it yet, and I need to put it on the show. But no, I mean it's on topic. It's Ubisoft in this era, which again really kind of reflects on what this game is.
Yes,
and why they did the things they did. Another thing that people bring that's going to be brought up, so I should mention it, is when this game had the commercial, or there's a music video for this game. That's the way I open it, thanks to Blair, because I forgot about that. Was
how could you forget? That's the only thing anyone remembers this game for.
And then it had, what was the group again?
Godsmack, I Stand Alone.
It's just weird to me it's just so strange to me. No, I don't remember it at all, actually.
Because you kept posting in chats, and it was like myself and like the Let's Play Princess, and both of us made the I Stand Alone joke like the second you posted about anything about this.
Yes.
I thought that the soundtrack in general I liked it, like the cheese metal, whatever you want to call it. I liked it, but it seemed way out of place, and it
just gave me a headache after a while.
Do either of you know of the band The Tea Party?
No.
Oh yeah, the
Yes.
Bazaar and Sister Awake. Yeah, I know the Tea Party.
So the one guy, I want to say it's the guitarist. I forget who it was exactly, but one of those guys worked on the soundtrack for this game.
Oh,
That was one of the interesting things I found looking into this.
I mean, the music it's just too much. It just gets annoying after a while for me because you're always in combat. So I'm always having that up, I'm just like,
yeah. Okay.
Just too much. It was just too much for me after a while. I'm like, just leave me alone. Like music, I don't need you. I don't want you.
And I want to know where the Godsmack connection came from. Because I feel even by 2004 standards, that was kind of played out. And the only thing I can think of is it's an out-of-touch executive thinking that's what kids think are cool. Or that's the song that was in The Scorpion King, which is also a swords and sandals adventure. So they did that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like, let's do it like The Scorpion King did it.
Right. Well, and if the popularity of Godsmack has fallen at that time, it seems like it would be an easier get for them.
Yeah, you didn't have to pay a lot of money.
That's an interesting point though about the Scorpion King.
I forgot that movie existed. I think so did the world. I think some other stuff that
Guys, did you either one of you notice that whenever the Dahaka speaks, it's backmasking? It's somebody speaking backwards.
No, I did not.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I didn't either. I was kind of just thought it was gibberish or something. And I was just kind of reading up on things, and all of it's backmasked. And apparently, if you rewind after he says something, you can hear it forward. But there's a YouTube video where somebody's gone through the trouble of reversing it for you, and he's saying things like, "No one escapes the Dahaka. Your end is near. You will be removed," which is an interesting one. So, like, there are all things that just don't sound very scary when you say them forward. So, I'm wondering if that's why they did the backmasking.
I mean, that is kind of cool. Like that, since he is somebody that's in time, so he talks differently. I think that's a cool concept.
Yeah, it works.
I love that element, like the whole. I think again to paraphrase the EGM review, it's like the Nemesis mixed with the Kool-Aid Man.
That's good.
Yeah, I can't remember who. I should probably get the issue and see who was credited to.
I was wondering if it's somebody that we know personally.
I don't think it was Greg.
Okay, I know. Well, I know three of the people that worked. I know three people that worked on EGM. Talk to. Does that count?
Yeah, because that's the cool part. Is like there's these instances where this thing is chasing you, and you just basically have to run. Like you can't fight it unless you go through the effort of getting the water sword by getting all the life upgrades.
Because otherwise you don't even get the true ending. Because I got the regular ending where you fight the Empress in the present, you kill her, and then the game just kind of like he ends up going back to Babylon, and he sees that his city is in ruins. I think you see the woman from the first game being tied up and like killed. It looked like you see like 3 flashes of it. I'm pretty sure that's what's supposed to be happening. But in the true ending, you fight the Dahaka, which I thought I was going to fight the Dahaka because I was using a guide, and they were like, "Oh, you fight the Empress of Time, then okay, now you got Dahaka coming, so be ready." And it didn't tell me that. Well, because the guide assumed that you would get all the freaking upgrades that I did not get.
If you don't get all the upgrades and you get the I guess we'll say incomplete ending, can you then at that point go back? I mean, I guess you have to go back to your save file maybe, but can you go back and get everything? You have to start over.
I think so, yes, because you have the whole game opened up at that point. So
yeah.
I mean, if you knew where to go, yeah, you can go. Because I was watching the speedrun, they go to a lot of them outside of order, but yeah, you can pretty much just run around still. Like the game doesn't punish. Like if you actually cared enough, you can still go do it if you knew where they were and you knew what you're missing.
All right.
They're just throughout the game. I mean, it's not worth it, but it's just throughout the game. And since the game is semi-open world, I don't like saying that, but that's kind of like you can always return to areas. Nothing's locked out.
Pretty open.
Yeah, it's not linear. Like in the first section, like I said, like you can kind of do things out of order, but then after, as you fight the Empress, who for some reason is voiced by Monica Bellucci.
Oh, I thought you were making a joke earlier.
No,
I did too.
I think it was like a back of the box quote. Well, I think in the credits it says the Empress Kylina, voiced by Monica Bellucci, also voice matched by someone else. So they probably got her for like a little bit and were like, "Oh crap, we need to do reshoots," but we ran out of Monica Bellucci budget. Yeah, that's a pretty big get after the Matrix movies. This is a year after those. But again, it just feels like, why do you need Monica Bellucci? What does she add other than a marketing back of the box point?
Right.
I didn't know that. You see, I've never actually looked at the back of the box in who knows how many years, even though, because I just never picked up this game again. I forgot I owned this game until very recently.
It was Crispin Boyer. I went and got the issue.
Okay, not somebody I know.
Introduces a mammoth single-minded pursuer who bursts through walls like Resident Evil's Nemesis meets a Kool-Aid Man with a dash of the Lord of the Rings Balrog.
Yeah, that's
great.
A good. I hope he gave himself a pat on the back when he came up with that one when he wrote it down. That's hilarious. I mean, it's true. I mean, the Haka stuff was kind of cool because, like, just I didn't mind it. Like, it had some. I mean, I had save states, so it didn't really matter to me. But there were multiple times where I had a hard time with some of the jumps and things where I just the game didn't cooperate. But I think that's just one. It's been a while, and two, this is PS2. I mean, I did play this on a fake PS4 controller, so I did have that type of feeling. I've also learned that you have to use that because I was playing Onimusha 2 a year ago, and I was using a fake 360 controller, and it wasn't pressure sensitive, and there was one part that I could not do until I switched controllers.
Oh.
And then I did it without much issue because you had to tap a certain way or you had to do something. I don't remember the puzzle, but it's a really dumb puzzle, and I could not do it with the fake 360 controller. Like, it was just impossible.
So interesting that I didn't realize is I never owned an Xbox original until well into the 2000s. This game had Xbox Live support.
Oh, for what?
Just reading from EGM. The Xbox version of Warrior Within offers an exclusive online mode in the form of combat and obstacle course time trials.
Huh. Okay. I guess that's cool. I guess it's probably something where y'all had like arcade ranking or something.
Yeah, because I guess this would have been the year when it blew up because of Halo 2 went again and all that stuff.
Yeah, so Xbox Live was a big fucking deal. I remember it too. Like, I used to play a lot of Halo 2.
8.5s across the board from everyone.
I can see why people loved this game at the time. I think it's just going back to it, it's really hard to find enjoyment in it.
Yeah, I think at the time is doing the heavy lifting there. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those games, and I think a lot of people haven't as I will get to soon, I posted a bunch of different comments, and I got a lot of comments that called me an idiot, essentially. Because my opening was not friendly, but we will get there shortly. But, like, I just feel like that's... Yeah, so, I mean, I wonder how many people actually replayed this game, because played it in 2004 when you're in that angst and everything. Like, it's a different feeling than as you play it as a 36-year-old.
And it's such a hard thing, too, because, like, Prince of Persia is a game, and that was the last one that had Jordan Mechner's support as well. I don't think he was probably showing builds of this.
He was gone by this time.
Yeah. Because
he thought that he had the right team and that they loved and that they would take care of it, so he just left.
And his influence adds, like, he's very much likes to celebrate, like, the history of the era and the region and things like that. And this very much, doesn't, like, it's again, with the hard rock music and the sexy enemies and the half-naked bosses and things like that, it's very much trying to cater towards a certain audience. But the frustrating thing about this is if you strip away a lot of that, you still have a fun platforming action game. Like, it doesn't have some of the cool puzzles like Sands of Time. Like, I think of working the giant clock. Like, when you're in the garden, you kind of have to, like, move the fountains and everything and manipulate everything to get all that working. But that's still there, and the Haka chases are fun. It's just, it's not completely worthless. I mean, it's not bad. It's just such a disappointing follow-up.
That's a fair way to put it.
I mean, that was exactly my whole issue with it. It was just the level of disappointment. It was not a fun game, and it wasn't worth my time, even at the time.
Okay, I'm surprised. I guess you weren't angsty enough for this game, huh, in 2004?
I mean, 1994 would have been more my angsty period.
I think it just really depends. I mean, it depends on how old you are when you play this game, too.
Yes.
Because when you are older, it is not as much fun.
I think I'm
so you got the ending where you didn't fight the Haka and you fight the Empress.
Yes.
But from the sounds of it, I think the only difference is that
they fuck.
Yeah. And he chokes her, question mark? And that,
I didn't see that. I watched the
I
end
think
game.
he throws her against the wall and possibly chokes her, and then they start going at it. He still goes back in Babylon's on Fire, and you get hints of the Dark Prince who plays into the sequel. So I guess they were already in the planning stages of how the story would go into the Two Thrones. But I guess they would have to if that game came out, a year later again?
Yeah, because they were forced to push these out, and that's too. I mean, they also reused assets too, from what I was reading or watching. Oh, the other thing we should mention, there's one point we talked a little about it, but I want to go just a couple sentences. You do get a mask at one point he puts on. He transfers into a sand wraith, so therefore he loses health at all times. But he also regains sand power. He can do more cool moves like that. It's okay. And then the whole story is that he goes back in time, and at one point you see the sand wraith killed by Dahaka, but now he has himself killed by Dahaka, and then the mask falls off, and then he's the prince. It's just stupid timey-wimey stuff. But
yeah, it's going through the game at the start, you see the sand wraith, and he's throwing swords at you, and you have no idea who this thing is, and then you realize, oh, it's yourself. And it's a pretty cool reveal.
Yeah, it was.
It's an interesting mechanic, but then, in replaying it, especially this time, all these years later, it goes on for a bit too long. And it's great having the Sands of Time replenish, because there's a move you can activate. You kind of just zip back and forth and kill people really fast, and I abuse that a lot to get through battles and things like that. I found the save points, as I know you play with save states. Yes. I didn't. I just played on our hardware. The save points are also really far apart. There was points where I just wanted to turn this off, and I just kept looking for both either a save point or some source of water to fill up my health, and couldn't get it.
No, that's fair. They did seem far apart. That's another reason I was very thankful for save states. So yes, you can rewind time, but I know that was one of the complaints here, Sands of Time, that it was too easy, in quotations.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, that was a complaint. I remember it because I was there.
You don't have to keep rewinding.
No, but anytime that game gives you different things, that make a game easier, people just complain and cry.
Yeah.
Oh, just wait until we get Prince of Persia 2008.
I loved it.
I nearly got into fist fights with a friend over that one.
That game is great. But yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. I get all the big complaint with that game. I love that game personally. I need to replay it again. But
play that one. Maybe I'll check it out.
It's really good. I have no idea when I'll get to it on this podcast, so I wouldn't sit just waiting for me, but it's a really good game.
It's divisive.
It depends on what kind of gamer you are. If you're someone that just wants to experience a game because it's an experience, because you cannot die, it's a really good experience. But if you're someone that plays for a challenge and only for a challenge, it's not the game for you.
I'm definitely not only a challenge kind of guy.
Yeah, so in this you have rewind, and even that has a limitation because you have to have the sand to actually do it. But in 08, you're with a character, and she basically, if you fall in a hole, she'll pick you up and throw you out, and you just kind of restart a section from the last time you're on the ground or something.
And that's why people hate it.
And also, Nolan North is basically voicing the same character, and it's like the Prince of Chicago and not exactly Prince of Persia.
That's fine. But yeah, no, I know that was a complaint too.
But apparently, he's gone on record saying that he wanted to do something that was more of the region, I guess. But they said, no, we just want Nathan Drake. So that's a direction thing.
And they're writing the check, so he's kind of got to do what they say. So.
Yeah.
I get that. Can't fault him for that. He's a fine voice actor. I think another thing this game was missing is in the first game you have the back and forth between the other character. I forget her name.
Farrell.
And this you don't really have that. He talks to the Empress a few times before he realizes that she's evil, that she's the Empress, but you don't have a lot.
Well, it's not so much that she's evil per se, it's that she's she's a kindred spirit in a respect, because he's at this island trying to reverse his fate, and she's trying to prevent him from getting to the island because she's fated to die by his hand and lead in the creation of the Sands of Time. So he even says at some point, in another lifetime, we could have possibly been something more to one another, but they're kind of in this, this loop. And that's the thing. There's a lot of stuff to mine here, but it's just not done that well. And I mean, coming again off Prince of Persia Sands of Time, and it sucks to keep going back to that.
You have to. It's part of a trilogy. It's not
the conceit of that is such a smart use of the medium of video games, where there's very little downtime or codec conversations or cutscenes because the story is being told to you as you're playing, and it even factors into death. Because if you die, you have the prince voiced by Yuri Lowenthal saying, no, that's not how it happened. Let me retell it again.
Yeah, I remember that now.
And this, it's just, you have Robin Atkin Downes recast as a prince who is a good voice actor. And again, it's probably just a direction of louder, more intense,
Yeah, it has to be. But again, it's like, unfortunately, I've said 3 or 4 times now. It's 2004. Thanks.
And you can skip cutscenes, but even when you hit the skip cutscene button, it has to fast forward through the cutscene. Which is annoying when you're dying.
Yeah, no, I can see that being really annoying. Oh, you also fight like dog enemies in this game too later on, which are annoying too.
And again, that's another cool thing where they kind of explode and you have to use them as bombs to kind of get places, but then just like getting them in position without losing health is such a monumental pain in the ass.
Yes, it is. The whole game for me, I was just frustrated, and that's never a good feeling. Like, I didn't really want to play this. I just had to, and I don't. That happens sometimes. Like, that's just part of what I do, and that's fine. But there was a bit of that in this playthrough. And
I was very much looking forward to playing this, as I had played
too.
This a long time. And
I was excited.
Probably actually since I bought that trilogy disc.
I have the same disc. I didn't use it, but I have it too. I was
know
excited.
This is the least of the 3. 1 and 3 is the Two Thrones is very much a correction in this. It's kind of a balance between Sands of Time and this, and I really like the Forgotten Sands too.
I like Forgotten Sands also. I've never played Two Thrones, and I'm looking forward to it. So,
how many thrones, Mike?
2 thrones, bitch. But I am looking forward to that one much. I mean, I'm going to try not to make it take 3 years again. I'm going to try to do it next year, but who knows? I'd do it this year if I didn't already have the schedule written out, just to wrap it up this series, because I can't believe it took me 3 years to get around to this game, but that's reasons.
After playing it, you now know why.
That's not why. But, I mean, I should go back to what I was starting to say. Like, I was excited to play this, like, because this had been on my backlog forever. Like, I was very excited to play this game, and it didn't take long before I wasn't excited to play it anymore. And that made me sad. All right,
That's about right. Sorry, go ahead.
Any more things to say about the game before we go on to questions, comments, or memories?
There's little Easter eggs, and because you, one of the mechanics you can get is you can pick up sub-weapons to get two-handed weapons, and I didn't find them because I don't know where there were 2. But I know you can pick up a hockey stick and also, I believe, Rayman's glove.
That's interesting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but you really have to like dig for them.
The hockey stick is a weird choice.
Yeah, I guess it was made in Canada.
That's true. Yep.
That makes sense. Okay, and then first from the Prince of Persia, the best of Ubisoft games, I did put in this that I didn't really enjoy the game. And so I have to put that out there because that's going to reflect a lot of the comments are back to that. From Steve Whitaker, I love this game so much more than Sands of Time. The progression fit, the color palette fit the mood of the game, and geez, it was difficult, at least back then. Haven't played it since release, but memories are fond. From TJ Warchalak, nah bro, this was the best one. Okay. From Joe Christopher, it was exactly the progression that 14-year-old me wanted after Sands of Time. Yep, yeah. That is accurate for anybody, I think, almost at 14 years old, in that age group. From Lane Barwick, I did love all the games, and the combat was awesome. I really enjoyed pulling off all those combos. I thought the soundtrack was awful. It didn't suit a fantasy at all. I also thought the character was far too different from the Sands of Time Prince. I think they could have done it differently. I know he was edgy because he was being chased by the Great Dahaka, and that premise was great. From Miguel Arantigi, I know I pronounced that wrong. Warrior Within is awful, but the Forgotten Sands is very nice. You can freeze the water, jump across bump, climb, and other chances. Really enjoyed playing it. I like Forgotten Sands too.
Yeah, me too.
And from the I Watch the Entire Orblood Super Replay group, from Patrick Ariano, I pronounced that wrong again. I don't think that Warrior Within is actually dark. I mean, it tries deftly to give the superficial appearance of being dark with its swearing, scantily clad hench girls and bloodshed, but it utterly fails to present any genuinely mature themes or situations. I actually find Sands of Time to to be more dark because the prince actually makes a meaningful sacrifice and is forced to change and grow as a person.
That's well thought out.
Yeah.
This is dark isn't written by a teenager dark.
Yes. Oh, that reminds me. When you fight the female enemies in this game, they go, it's feel the pain or something about pain and is erotic. Essentially, pain is erotic. It made me laugh a lot. But I can't remember what they said. But it's something of that nature.
It's capital H horny. That's all you need to know.
Yes. I don't mind that in games usually. From Lucas Adams, The Two Thrones was much better. Felt like a better mix between them, wanting to tell a mature story and what made Sands of Time so much fun. And from Parker Lukenbach, was this the game that got memed on for having that Godsmack song?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, I got more than I expected from the Giant Bomb group. See here from Neil Fowler. I love the Sands of Time saga, but this is a really misguided sequel. It's for some good ideas when it comes to the story, but it lacks any charm or sense of character. The prince has no real interesting responses to his predicament, and a lot of the actual writing feels juvenile in a way that doesn't serve the story. From Alex Wilkie, this game's good. I like a good story much as anybody, but gameplay is more important, and people are so quick to forget that the combat in Sands of Time is a boring formality that you slog through to get to the next platforming bit, where the combat and warrior thing is actually engaging and the platforming is improved, and I don't even hate the story. I like the Dahaka as a concept and all the chaos chase sequences with it, and I like the plot device of that iron mask that, if it recalls correctly, basically magic either a solution to the bootstrap paradox or a way out of the closed loop, one of those. The problem are just characters and presentation that they traded in campy and vibrant for sullen and dull. Still a sick game. Oh, my friends and all, I had houses on Animal Crossing, and time manipulation on the GameCube system menu for personal game was a big point of contention. So we sent a lot of letters, put up a lot of signs, posted a lot of things in the notice board, all threats from the Dahaka. All right. From Hector Novate. First time I played this one, I lost my save because I got stuck revisiting an area you can't get out of after the story beat is done. Even still, and with all the try-hard Shadows the Hedgehog energy, I like this game for what it was. That said, you're like 30 seconds into the intro and an ass in a metal thong just walks into frame and the Godsmack music starts shortly after. They really went for that teenage angst. From Stephen Kess, despite the changes, I loved it anyway because it felt incredible to play. From Mason Luxembourg, I actually skipped Warrior Within despite loving Sands of Time and Two Thrones. Might have to rectify that someday. No, you don't. Don't go. Leave it. You're too old now. I don't know how old you are, but I know you're too old now. So
yeah, that's crazy. Like, that's like watching Star Wars and Return of the Jedi and being like, why is Han Solo in a frozen block of ice? Like, so much of the setup of the Two Thrones is predicated on what happens in this.
Or why is Leia in that armor, but you have to wait years and read a comic? I think she gets that in Shadows of the Empire, but I love Star Wars, by the way. But no, you're right. I don't know how. That's one reason I never played Two Thrones. I never played this game, and I was like, I can't skip a game. But maybe not all people are like that. Maybe that's just certain gamers.
Depends on the series, but for the most part, yeah, it would feel weird skipping one.
Especially like a story one like this. Like I would have felt I couldn't do it because I've always heard good things about Two Thrones, and I wanted to play it, but I had to play this. And as you can see, it took me almost 20 years to play this. And I've owned it for probably over 17, or 18. From Andy Bolsover, love Sands of Time, never finished this or the sequel. The tone, music, story are so off-putting. Forgotten Sands was a reasonable return to form. From Henrik Illison, there are ideas I really like in this, and at the time I thought it was kind of cool, but the execution definitely falls flat in some areas. The worst offender for me are the game-breaking glitches where you will save in one location, and when loading up, load that area from later in the game, but you clearly haven't triggered the corresponding events. That would be it.
That sounds bad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that would be rush your game in a year. So, I mean, I don't blame the developer. I blame corporate. It's always corporate. We want the money now, not the money later. Money now. From Alex Omido, I played this game when I was maybe 10 to 12 years old. Turns out it was the perfect time to play it because I have never found a fault with the game. I love the angst it was going for, probably because it hit at a good time for me as a youth. Gameplay also kicks total ass. I absolutely nailed the combat. The first time I split a dude in half in the game, I absolutely fucking lost it. Game rips, and any complaints about the tone of this game are honestly just boring. This was a quality sequel. I need to ask
when go back in time and get their 12-year-old self to write that.
I want to know when they. Yeah, my guess they've never played it since then.
I haven't played this since I was 12 years old.
And you know what? This is the kind of game where you like. This joke has been made on the show before because of Adam from Talk Games to a Bubblegum podcast. Is that this game's my mom found effect. When you go back to play an old game, you're like, oh no, this is one of those games. If you played as a kid and you loved it, don't ever play it again. Just leave those happy memories and move on. See, Zach, you didn't have to deal with that because you didn't have to play it, so you didn't get to have all the heart-wrenching and annoyance like we did.
Lucked out.
You did, actually. You captured enough. I mean, if you played other Prince of Persia games like you saw, you just didn't have to feel the cranky controls.
I did play it back in the day. I just was unable to revisit it this time.
And that's not your fault. That's Ubisoft's fault.
Yes.
Like, this trilogy... I still have a couple more, but I want to go on a rant. This trilogy really should be re-released in more ways. Like, they had it on PS3. I mean, they had the codes. Like, they could bring this back and put it out there.
It's demand and hardware and resources, and who knows how well that trilogy sold. Because, I mean, these games, as well as they were reviewed, like Prince of Persia Sands of Time was Game of the Year, got 10s, 9s. Like I said, in EGM, this got straight 8s, but they also dropped price really fast. So they were probably, as fondly as people look back on them, they were probably moderate hits at best. Like, I believe Wikipedia, which can't really be trusted, I was looking at just now, like the sales numbers were at 1.9 million, which was probably great for a budget of that, for a budgeted game, for a PlayStation 2 release of that time. But it's not what you call, like, say, Halo 2 numbers or something like that.
You can't expect every game to be whatever the best-selling game is at that time. Like, I know people do. Like, I know corporations are like, well, this guy made all this money, so we should make all this money. Like, it doesn't work that way.
But 400,000, I think, was enough to get in greatest hits status back then, because I know Maximo 1 was.
Yes.
So, as much as I hate the quick turnarounds, like, at least you get a game, of this high quality after 1 year, where now you have to wait like 10 years between sequels.
Yeah, I guess I did. See, I don't really realize that because I'm such a retro gamer now.
Yeah.
That I don't even think about new games that are coming out. Like, people get excited for stuff, and I'm just like, I don't care. Like, I won't get to it.
I'm pretty much the same way. But most new stuff I don't have an interest in.
I think that's a good way to be, honestly. I mean, I did buy Alan Wake 2 for like $60 and it hurt.
And that's a game I haven't bought because I haven't been able to afford it.
No, that's fair. I only bought it because it's on the show in July, so I had no choice. I
really want to play it though, but again, also it's digital only, so if I don't like it, it's not like I can return it or trade it in.
Yeah, but I've only traded 2 games in my life, so Half-Life 1 for PS2 and some samurai skateboarding game or skating game. I forget what it's called. I found it and I traded that in because my friends made fun of me for buying it.
I need to know what a samurai skating game is. Is it skateboarding or like
no? It's skate like roller skates or something. I don't remember. It's like samurai skate. I'm gonna try to look it up, but I don't know if I'll be able to figure it out.
Game?
What
was it? A GameCube game?
No, it was PS2.
Oh, okay, same era. That sounds familiar.
Let me see. I'll know it. If I see the cover, I will know it immediately. I know I found it since then, but I can't remember what the fuck it was called. Somebody out there know. I found it. It's 7. No, is it? No, I don't think it's. Maybe it's 7. Maybe it's not what I thought it was. Maybe it's 7 Samurai for PS2. 7. No, it's 7 Samurai 20XX. There's no skating involved. Sorry, wrong game. But my friends made fun of me for buying it. Like, you're never gonna play this, so I ended up trading it in because peer pressure.
I was like, I like to think I'm a guy who knows a thing or two about like a weird game, but I was like, this is even getting me. Yeah, it's confused right now.
Yeah, 7 Samurai 20XX. They made fun. My friends made fun of me, so I returned it. I sold it back. And I used to buy games like all the fucking time because I was 15 and had a job and didn't eat. So I bought games every week. But cheap games every week, because I was still me.
And you can get a lot of cheap games back then.
Hey, I got some that are worth a lot of money now that I should sell. But like, I have Silent Hill 2 and 3.
Yeah, those are $29 once upon a time.
I got them for less.
Or less.
A couple more comments to read, and we'll wrap this up. From Official Laser Time Community, from Blair McDonald. This was the first game in the series I played, so I didn't have the first to compare it against. I have good memories of it. Obviously, the puzzle solving and time rewind features were new to me and were tons of fun. I was at an age where the whole dark theme was cool to me, and I remember the execution moves were a good visual reward for nailing an attack sequence. I don't have any parts of the game that I remember being disappointed or unhappy with. I don't think I ever played the first game. And from Ricardo Perry, he just put the gif of I Stand Alone from Godsmack. And last group to read from. I posted this in like 6 groups that I normally don't do, but I didn't think people would actually comment, and people did, surprisingly. From Ivan Tippett, I mean, the dark and gritty is kind of the point in Warrior Within, considering it's a darker story, darker setting, and when the prince was at his worst, so it made sense they went for a darker route. If they put Warrior Within a bright light, colorful, all like Sands of Time, it just wouldn't match what they were going for. Same if they switched the colorful aesthetic to a much darker one in Sands of Time, it just wouldn't match what they were going for, which is a brighter tone with obviously a small sprinkle of dark theme. But yeah, I understand Warrior Within isn't for everyone in terms of this. Personally, I like both styles. I think there are times and places for both, like the brighter aesthetic suited Sands of Time, the darker works for Warrior Within. Okay. From Santo Anthony, Warrior Within gives you anxiety, and I love it. I get anxiety myself now. I don't need to give it to me.
Definitely some anxiety-inducing parts of that game. Even just watching it, some of the platforming was freaking me out.
But also, the best, what you missed out is on the platforming. You hit the right button, but the wrong thing happens. That's the best.
Oh, geez.
Oh, yeah. You hit forward and X to go jump on a pole, and you jump backwards or something.
Yeah.
Those
were great. Oh, and that, like, this is a long time ago, but to bring up that part where you were talking about where the jumping from ships, I died so many times even with save states because he just wouldn't cooperate, and I couldn't figure out what to do without watching the video.
Me too.
Okay, so it wasn't just me. Good. And from Frederick Gelstred, I love the story, and I love the fact that you need all life upgrades to get the real ending. From Stelios Hat, it's true that for those who were expecting a colorful ancient Persian architecture, lore, and environment game, that they got disappointed. This game is completely diverted from the first installment in terms of time, era, and civilization that the story takes place. They even changed the main protagonist, the prince. He is very different and more brutal characteristics made. It's darker, European, medieval environment, gothic atmosphere, and music. However, the vast majority of us fans, we loved it and enjoyed it, even though it was so much different than a typical Prince of Persia game. As for the visiting areas, that was really brilliant. The fact that you played both the past and present, where areas were altered by time resembled only a little, was very clever and enjoyable. Lastly, the boss, the Haka, was epic. Loved POP Warrior Within, even though it was so much different from the classic. And last comment from Dan Nicolou, my game, the Haka thing, time traveling, the Prince of Speech. Okay. So yeah, people love this game that aren't me or us apparently.
Agreed. Yeah. It's for someone.
I was surprised how many positive comments I got about this game. But I also love the fact that I'm pretty sure most of those positive comments have not played this game since 2000.
Well, that's the thing. It's like a lot of games, all of them are someone's favorite. Like I was playing James Bond Jr. on my Polymega the other day, which is not a good game. But when I throw on James Bond Jr., I think of going on vacation in Nova Scotia and buying it at a Shoppers Drug Mart, which is probably like one of the most Canadian things you'll hear today. And, you know, I have fond memories of James Bond Jr. And like a lot of the comments you read where I played this when I was 12 and, you know, it was probably felt like something that was they shouldn't be playing because it's M-rated and there's like scantily clad ladies and blood and violence and decapitations, you know.
That's very fair. And if you played it when you were a teenager too, this is the perfect game for you. So yeah, that's all fair. All right, and I should give away a code quick before we go to Shelf Stacker Box. I have Steam codes I need to get rid of still. Who would have guessed? I buy a lot of bundles. So yeah. Here, we're going to give away The Walking Dead: A New Frontier. Actually, yeah. The code is LRXPR-WM20JJVVD5. That is the code for The Walking Dead: A New Frontier. So season 3, essentially. So
sweet. I just Walking Dead: A New Frontier.
It's not worth it. But I can't play that series. I only played the first one for the show, and I did 400 days because I just had to. That series is so hard for me because it's so sad. I just have such a hard time playing it.
It's also diminishing returns.
It's one of those things that I want to, but it's just so depressing. That's why I've never done more of them. Yeah, we'll see. Someday, maybe. All right, let's go to Shelf Stacker Box. And Blair, why don't you go first?
I think I won't box it. I'll put it in a stack. There are things I like the plot and some of the level design, but the combat and the music and the edgelordness of it makes me just not want to revisit as much. It's just something that's an obligation to play if you're going back through this trilogy, or I guess quadrilogy if you're throwing in the Forgotten Sands. So I don't think it's completely box material, but it's not something that I'm going to champion or anything.
That's a fair take.
Okay, I'll go next. I'm going to put this in the box. I really, really disliked everything about this game. I had a terrible time playing it. Like, I just didn't have fun. I was just so upset that I didn't enjoy this game. So, it's going in the box. Glad I played it, but never want to experience it again. And what about you, Zach?
Pretty much agree with you guys. There's a couple of good things to like about the game. Specifically, I like the story. But for the most part, it was a lot of frustration and not a lot of fun from what I recall. And I literally did put it in a box and shipped it to some guy who bought it for $25 off of me on eBay back in February of 2005. I was just like searched my emails for Warrior Within. I was like, what did I do with that? Did I sell it? That is what happened. So it's in the box for me.
All right. I think that's fair for every. Oh, and because of as time kept going, there are 2 games that take place now between Sands of Time and Warrior Within that were made after Forgotten Sands, which is the 360, and then there's also the DS game that's a like tactics card strategy game or something.
Weird Battles of Prince of Persia.
Yeah, it looks really ugly, and that is supposed to. Most of those games are supposed to kind of be like, oh, this is why he became so edgy.
Forgotten Sands, he's still Yuri Lowenthal and pretty.
Yeah,
he's pretty lighthearted, even though that game has, from what I remember, like he kills his brother. Spoilers for a 14-year-old game.
That's fine. It's not like you're not playing Prince of Persia, except maybe the newest one for story.
I kind of am. I love the story in Sands of Time. Yeah, I have the Battles of Prince of Persia because I was buying up games in this franchise, but I have not played it, and it's not something I really want to play at this time.
Same. Don't worry, it's not. I have many other series I want to finish on this podcast before I bother to play something like that. So, but the urge is there a little bit because I do have I have a DS with a flash cart, and I play a lot of DS, and it's kind of fun playing DS games now. But I think I can skip that one.
I don't want to interrupt, but I gotta go. So
we're just about done. Where can people find you at, Zach?
You can find me on Absolutely the Best Podcast. A Work in Progress is the full name. We have absolutelythebest.net. Linktree is / absolute best. But if you just Google Absolutely the Best Podcast, we're pretty much the top search result somehow. I guess that's a good podcast name. Or if you search it within any podcast app, there is another one of a similar name, but it hasn't been updated in years. So we're not that one.
Okay. And there'll be a link in the show notes to the podcast.
Right now, we're talking about the MCU and ranking them as we go.
All right. And you are right. You were right near the top.
Sweet. Right. Hey, I'm going to go. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, thanks for joining, Zach.
And I'll send you a link later if you need it or something. Oh, you got it.
Sounds perfect.
That'll be fine. All right, cool. Take care, guys. Thanks. Bye.
All right. And Blair, where can people find you at?
This is getting progressively long.
It's fine.
For my not the show, my kind of, I guess, life now. Because there's so many different social media platforms, and I'm trying to be active on all of them, and it's getting exhausting. But just look up either my name, Blair Farrell, or Blarcade on Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky. You can read my work, as limited as it is lately, at comicbookvideogames.com. You can like the Comic Book Video Games Facebook page, and go on my Twitch page, which is twitch.tv/Blarcade, because I'm streaming now. I'm trying to find a better schedule. At the time of this recording, I played 4 hours of Superman on the Nintendo 64 to celebrate its 25th anniversary, which was frustrating, I guess. It was fun and also frustrating, but I'm, going through my library of superhero video games, and who knows, I might start branching off into just other games that I like as well.
Okay. And if you enjoyed this episode, we have over 600 other episodes of the podcast. We have done Prince of Persia Time. We mentioned multiple times. You will see a link in the show notes to that, so definitely go check that out if you want more Prince of Persia, which hopefully you do. Different cast, and also much different Mike because he was 3 years younger. So go check that out. We do movies, comics, video games, lots of Marvel episodes too, and Blair's on a bunch of the Marvel games, so definitely go check that out if you want to hear it. Just type in things X-Men. You never know what you're going to find on the podcast. Spider-Man. If you want to support the show, we do have Patreon, little dollar. You vote in our Patreon polls. We have a poll every month, so please do that and support the show. And we have a Discord, which is free. You can join our Discord and chat with us. We're always happy to have new people join us. So you will see a link in the show notes to that. And please, I'm going to shout out my awesome intro and outro courtesy of Helena. She's on Twitch, Instagram, TikTok. You will see a link to our link tree in there. And if you want to shout out to Bill Tucker, Gamer Looks at 40, and please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Twitter, Blue Sky, and YouTube, audio only, and rate and reviews wherever you get your podcasts. I think that's everything I need to say, so we will see you guys all next time. Bye, everybody.